Right, guys, welcome back. This is Just Above the Average FPL podcast with me, CY, and Baker, FPL 343. How are you this evening, Baker?
Great, mate.
Fantastic. It's an exciting podcast.
It's exciting. Full house.
Full house. So before we do the introductions, just to let you know where to find us, we are at Above Average FPL on Twitter. Baker is at Baker FPL 343. Podcasts are available Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts from. Make sure you subscribe. You know exactly when the latest episodes are released, and we also put a tweet out to let you know that it's there. Reviewing the podcast really helps us. Please get on and do that. It helps us reach more people. And so I mean, without further ado, we've got three fantastic guests on the podcast this evening. So firstly, we've got returning for his second time. We've got Andy, FPL Mode. How are you, Andy?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you, mate. Thank you very much for having me tonight.
No worries, no worries. School night for you, no drinking?
Yeah, school night, no drinking. No, I know. To be honest, I thought I'd better stay sober. I saw you put out the tweet saying who do people want on the pod, and I saw I was losing. So I'm glad that you invited all of us on to save the graces, mate.
It's funny how that worked in the end, didn't it?
Yeah.
Welcome back, mate. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Good stuff. We've also returning again. We have Bhuna. How are you, Bhuna?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. Mendy and Rudiger have been benched, so I'm over the moon.
Happy days. Happy days.
Straight inject
Inject that.
And then finally, for the first time, we're welcoming Lateriser. How are you this evening, mate?
Great. I've been looking forward to this all week. I've got my drink ready and looking forward to chatting with you boys.
Magic. So what are you drinking then, Pradil?
Drinking Monkey Shoulder, which I believe is Bhuna's favorite as well. Got some scotch happening.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've let you down tonight, though.
Yeah, what are you drinking tonight, Bhuna?
Some Chardonnay.
That's worse than that.
I've had a stressful day at work, all right? Cut me some slack.
God.
Baker, what are you drinking?
Inject that.
Beer and whiskey. One out of both. So, I'll cover Andy.
Yeah. Cheers, mate.
I'm on a local beer, so I'm staying in a hotel this evening. So this is hopefully the Wi-Fi stays connected. Fingers crossed. So I've got some local lager. It's quite nice, actually. It's nice to actually have a lager out of a glass rather than out of a bottle or a can to watch it get poured. That was quite nice. So what I did want to say, because we're recording on Wednesday, is to all of our people that listen to us who are Muslim. So Eid Mubarak to all of you. Hope you've had a good Ramadan, and I hope you have a fantastic day, weekend, whatever it is, celebrating with your family and friends, etc. So I wanted to get that out there for everyone. So yeah, we're going to do a general sort of chit chat. We're going to talk about how the game week's gone so far for everybody. Better for some than others, as Andy smiles from ear to ear, and then just talk about a few general things, a few funny things, and yeah. So should we just start off with how the game week's going? Andy, we'll start with you. We'll get it out of the way, and yeah, go for it, mate.
Yeah. No, it's gone really well so far. I'm on 95 points. I've got 9 left to play. I literally, honestly though, I feel like because of the way this week's happened, the variance is massive. And I was looking, I had Maguire in my team, I had Zaha in my team, and literally in the last kind of 10 minutes, I swapped them out and put in Dean and put in Rashford, Greenwood and Bruno as my captain. So I decided to just go with the upside because I thought actually Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came out and said that no defender was going to play all 3 games. And I thought, well, that's the only reason I really had Maguire in anyway. So I thought, sod it, I'm just going to go for the upside of an attacker rather than a defender. And yeah, so I've got 95 points, 100k green arrow, so into 150k now, which is quite nice. And yeah, 9 left to play. So I'm hoping Bruno and Rashford play against Liverpool, which I thought would happen anyway. And then see how the Liverpool guys do as well. So it's kind of a ceiling on that really. And then I've also got the Everton boys too. So I've got Richarlison, DCL and Dean to play. So yeah, feeling all right. If I can get anywhere close to the 100k by the end, I'll be very, very happy with that.
Nice work. I don't even know who's second at the moment in terms of points out the rest of them. Baker, do you want to go in here? Where are you?
I'm doing all right, but I did need to do well because my team next week looks so horrific. But I'm on 81 points -4, so 77. I've got Salah, Trent, Greenwood, Bruno, captain, and Pickford left. That's me. So I'm in an okay space, but I've got like 6 players next week. So, I almost feel like I've got already take off about 10, 12 points off of what I've got because it's pain. And did well on the keepers, brought a new keeper in, Pickford, but then I benched Forster and sold Mendy, 2 penalty savers. Decided that, I could go for even less players next week and brought Maguire in for a hit. So, it doesn't feel like a good week, but it's doing all right.
I should sit here doing my best Oliver skip.
Yeah.
Bhuna?
Mate, I'm so glad you went after Andy because I was about to drop my mic and just leave. But I'm glad, yeah. No, I've had a bit of a very mediocre week as well. I'm on 78 -8. Transfer-wise, I got rid of Lingard, Pope and Mason Mount this week. And I brought in Guaita. Zaha is an absolute troll. But I did bring in Greenwood, which is really sweet. And I reckon he could get some points again at the week on tomorrow. Captain Salah, kind of wish I'd gone Greenwood now, but just wasn't sure he's going to get minutes. But in terms of green arrows, very small one at the moment from 603 to 558. And I've got Shaw, Greenwood, Salah captain, Jota and Lucas Dean to go. So, yeah, so and so. The Chelsea key players being benched today feels good because that could have done me some damage.
Yeah.
Nice one. Ella?
I'm doing all right. I've been having a good few weeks in the past 3 or 4 game weeks. Having an absolute shit show of a season though, but I genuinely don't mind it. I'm enjoying it. So I got 86 -8. I've been taking hits for the past 6 game weeks. There's a -8 this week as well. I sold 3 of our Spurs boys. I sold Bale, Kane, and Reguilon this week. I got in Robertson, I got in DCL, and I got in Bruno, who I put the armband on. So nice. That entire reject worked. So a lot of points gained on transfers. Happy with that. Free hitting in 36. So yeah, good days. No complaints.
Sometimes. And myself, I brought Zaha in as well. As kind of a last minute decision, same as I did at the start of, game week 18 or 19, something like that. So that worked really well. He even told me how many points he was going to get 4 days ago when he tweeted about it with his 2 fingers up in each. Literally told us all how many points he was going to get. But I am sitting on 79 points, and that is a gross and net 79 points. So for one week, I didn't take a hit. I looked at the United fixtures and saw that, and thought the same as everyone else, really, that they were going to make changes in that second game against Leicester. So I decided to attack that and go with Iheanacho. Didn't really work out for the Newcastle game, but he picked up some points for the United game, but he picked up some points against Newcastle. So that was all good. I've got Bruno, Greenwood, I've got Trent, Wan-Bissaka got an assist, Coleman, and I've got Chris Wood as well. So that's good. I've even benched Pope and Pereira this week, which is wow. We'll see how Martinez gets on against.
Do you think that's bad, CY? I benched Phillips 6 points with a game to go. Bamford 9 points, Alonso 8 points with a game to go.
I know you were giving me shit about Chris Wood and Areola, wasn't it?
Anyway, sorry. Carry on. Next question. Was I actually?
You apologised to all Chris Wood owners for having Areola sitting on your bench because all of your other bench players.
That wasn't directly a hit. It wasn't
directly at me. No, it wasn't directly at me. So good start.
Seems like a good time to shift to the whiskey, Buddha. Just saying.
Yeah, it's probably a good shout.
So we wanted to talk about a few different things, general FPL stuff. I thought we could have a quick look and, just out of interest, have a look at everyone's game week 1 team and see who people had, if they've kept them or if they've had them back in at any point, and whether there are any thoughts and maybe regrets or things like that. Because we've had questions come in about how people can get a fast start and keep up, and that's been kind of how this season has gone for those that are sitting in the top sort of 1K. They're all sitting there with Kane and Son for the first 9 weeks and just sort of motored ahead and motored away from everybody else. But have you guys had a look at your game week 1 teams and seen what you had and whether you make it and whether you were happy with them. I mean, you're obviously happy with them then, but what does it look? What does it look like now?
Give us your
It's a
take.
joke of a team. I had a bloody Aubameyang in there.
We all had Aubameyang. Surely we all had Aubameyang.
Yeah, no, I had McCarthy, Trent, Egan, James, Justin, Mitchell came off the bench for Pulisic, Aubameyang, Barnes, Son and Kane, St. Maximin and Werner. Scored 47 points, game week rank of 3 million, and it didn't really improve from there on in.
Oh, brilliant.
So Bhuna, you went without Salah as well, game week 1.
I did, yeah, I didn't have Salah. I won't make that mistake next season.
That's a biggie, isn't it? That was I got 65 points that first week, but 40 of them were Salah. You look at
is that what you scored?
I was 20k after 1 week. It looks like it was great, but I spent 5.5 million on Doherty, Walker pieces, Aubameyang, Werner. Pranil, I blame you for Werner. I blame you for him all season. Mitrovic for a 1-pointer first game of the season. Ali, bloody Dele Ali dragged me in.
Oh, mate.
1-pointer. Yeah, fun times.
How many players has everyone still got in their team?
Trent and Salah.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Just Son for me.
Just Calvert-Lewin for me.
Yeah, Trent and Salah for me.
Just Trent. Everybody else is gone. I've got like Peacock, Farrell, and Brewster in my game week 1 bench. Obviously, I mean, me and Baker spoke about this. It's a bit different this year's game week 1 because we had no City and no United, so it was kind of difficult to really sort of see how that was going to work. And to be honest, I'm surprised some of you boys didn't go Salah.
How did everyone go with their benches? Because I went ultra weak, and I don't think I'd make that mistake next time. I went Nyland, who I don't know if he was playing at the time, Oscar Burr and Brewster. Do you remember the Oscar Burr, that 4.0 million Wolves defender who got a few games in pre-season? Does anyone remember that?
I have no idea who he is.
Trust me, you did in pre-season. Everyone did.
4 million. Justin and Mitchell, first two on the bench, 15 points. Oh,
I had both of them starting.
Do you think regrets though? Like, I like to just wildcard early anyway. Like, I'm not a holder onto it, so therefore I don't really care. Like, it is a case of just try and hit it hard and go for it.
I wildcarded game week 3 with a game week rank of 5 mil with a wildcard. How rough is that?
I think I might be able to beat that, Bhuna. Yeah.
A wildcard.
Game week 3 wildcard, 5 million game week rank. Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's 4.9. 4.9.
Yeah. Game week 3 wildcard, 4.473 million.
Oh, what on earth? This is below the average podcast.
Andy, join us.
Go on, Andy. What did you have game week 3? When did you wildcard?
Yeah, I wildcarded a little bit later than that. I wildcarded in game week 6.
Oh, well done.
I started really well. I had Calvert-Lewin from the beginning. I transferred in James Rodriguez in the second week. I had 70, then 67. And then I remember, because I was podding about it, all I told everybody to do in game week 3 was go and get Jack Grealish. And I literally said, go and get him. And then I didn't get him and got Foden instead. Foden then went on his run of not bloody starting games. And Grealish got freaking 31 points in the next 2 games. Because they annihilated Liverpool, didn't they? So no, I just kept holding. I was just kind of treading water, really, wild carding in game week 6, and it was looking okay. And then literally just kept getting 40 odd points. But yeah, and then just treaded water at about 600k for a week.
It's those decisions that hurt the most, right? Where we're so close to getting somebody, and then it's 51, 49 call, and just don't do it. If you haven't thought about getting Grealish, it wouldn't bother you at all. But you were so close. Those decisions hurt the most.
Yeah, no, completely. And it literally was. All I kept saying was, I think Grealish should be good. And all anybody kept saying to me was, you're mad. Like, Villa are Villa. They're not very good. And it was one of those things that really cemented for me that just don't listen to other people. Just listen to what you're thinking. And you might be seeing something that other people aren't. And if I'd have listened to myself, I don't know, I maybe would have been 2k better off.
I'll tell you what does hurt the most is self-reflection. Looking at this, game week 20, overall rank 554,000. Game week 35, overall rank 558,000. All those hours that I've lost for 4K. Oh my days.
Is there any players that like we're now virtually through the season where you haven't owned them and they've done really well all season? And like for me, it's Dallas. Like I've not bothered to go there all season, despite the fact that he's just a blatant gold mine. Shaw, similar as well for me. But it's probably defenders more that's the case. But
Martinez for me. Bloody hell.
Yeah, I've not owned Dallas all season. The Aiding Dallas decision I went with Aiding. They never got a Leeds defender after that. Yeah, gutting. What I hear, it's painful to own Dallas because most of the people, they managed to bench his good horse because his brace came against City, didn't it? So it's been difficult getting Dallas's points.
I was like that with Souček early on. I had him early, but then just bench for all the points. In the end, I was like, I just need to get rid of him. And I did actually do better once I got rid of him because it was like a thing that I wasn't worrying about every week of shall I play this guy or not.
I took ages to get on Bamford, because I just didn't think it would carry on. He spent all the championship being the most. But the worst player in the league at converting chances, and I just didn't think he would get as many chances in the Prem, and he just carried on killing it every week, didn't he?
He's still a shocking player. I think he's shit. I said it from the start. I was in the same boat as you, mate. Honestly, I was like, he's going to stop. I came into the season with this, kind of pre-vision that he's going to be shit, and then he started scoring. I was like, yeah, but it's just one goal, and it continued for like 15 weeks, and I didn't go on him.
I mean, there's definite trends. There's definite trends that I know that I missed, and I think I missed probably the best part of Kane and Son in the very early weeks. I know that I missed part of Bamford. I avoided Gundogan in the middle of the season almost completely, which really didn't help me. I've missed doubling up a lot on City early on in the sort of run of clean sheets, but then I did have Cancelo a bit later on in that, and I did captain him that week when he scored. Yeah, the week when he was due. Which was kind of like every week, but the week that he scored and got 17 points, I did captain him, which was kind of nice. And then I missed the Chelsea one as well. Missed the Chelsea like 8 clean sheets or something like that in like 9 games, and I just missed that. That just went past me. So I'm sitting about 9k better than Bhuna at the moment. So you can talk about your.
Oh, is it? Is that it?
Yeah, it's only 9k. It's probably like a point, if that.
Oh shit!
What's your overall? What's your total points?
2071.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it can't be 2071.
2071.
How am I? Okay, my rank is somehow better than yours, but I'm a point behind you. How does that work?
Are you on 2072?
No, I'm on 2072.
What's your rank?
It's got to be hits, boys. It's got to be hits. Bhuna with his hits.
What's your rank?
It's 549k. I'm on FPL game week.
Wait, this is bullshit. What is going on? I'm gonna have to get onto official FPL after this.
Official FPL. Oh no, it does say 563. Okay, fine. It says 563.
Mind the gap.
Can we at least all agree that you should have just all saved your free hit for this triple game week we all knew was coming?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. It was a no-brainer, really. I won't make that mistake next season.
Exactly.
I might leave my free hit till game week 39 next season.
You should be listening to me, Bhuna. I don't know why you don't do it more often. Come on.
I don't listen to many people, to be fair.
You made like 6 transfers by Sunday, didn't you? And that was kind of why.
You know who else really irritated me this season? I really love him as a player, but James Justin, mate, he'd breathe and get 9 points.
I took him out on wild card. I had him in my game week 1 team and took him out. Like that's a lot of mine. I was like,
that was a lesson learned, and
a lesson.
I didn't jump on him, but so many people didn't want to go for him because apparently Ricardo Pereira was going to come back in game week 3. Do you remember that?
Mate,
and he looked fucking dodgy in the first 2 or 3 game weeks. He looked like he couldn't fucking defend. I'm like, this guy isn't going to stick inside that Leicester team, and I was so fucking wrong.
So
I'm looking at that game week 1 team here, and it's such a great indicator of my season because I have Werner captain game week 1. I have Calvert-Lewin in my team, and I want to talk to you boys about fine margins, right? So 2 days before the game week 1 deadline, I had Bamford in my team, and I had Salah in my team, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just being too lazy. I need to think more, and then that overthinking happened because I had a good finish last season. So we were like, okay, no, you need to try doing something different, try to gain those fine margins early in the season. And I said, you know what, if I drop Salah, I can upgrade Bamford to Martial, who I can have in game week 2, because Martial did really well for me last season.
Yeah.
And then I was able to upgrade some sort of a 5.5 million to Dele Alli as well. So instead of Salah, Bamford, and one more dodgy player, I gotten Martial, Ali, and Havertz, and I'm like, this looks better if I just drop Salah. And this happened 2 days before the game week 1 deadlines. Just fine margins in terms of the overthinking and how that can crucify you.
So you started with Werner and Havertz game week 1.
We started with Werner, Havertz, and Dele Alli. All the traps that were there to fall into, I fell into them in game week 1. Yeah.
I mean, you're right on Martial. I mean, I remember having him back end of last season, and he was excellent without that crowd. I mean, he just without that crowd at Old Trafford, he flourished, didn't he? He scored goals for fun.
Apart from when he slapped Lamella so viciously across the face.
Well, that was.
It was a blatant red, wasn't it? I mean, he could have seen purple for that, to be fair.
It's a bit like the McTominay one on Sun as well, wasn't it? Apparently,
I'm surprised he didn't get a 10-match ban, to be honest.
Just realized in a stream with 3 Spurs fans.
Yeah, you got no chance. You got no chance.
No regrets, boys. What about so you've still got a free hit, Radale. Is this normal to hang on to chips this long for you?
Yeah, I mean, normally it's either game week 32, 33, 35, 36. Generally, we have those 2 game weeks as those big double game week patches, but things were different this season. And I never felt like playing it because I've always had a decent team. There weren't too many players I wanted changing. Surprising because I had a shit season. But yeah, it never felt that. And then I was holding on to it right at the end for these last 2 game weeks, and I'm looking forward to it. I think there's some fixtures to target this season. I'm just hoping to gain some momentum so that I can go into the next season with some confidence. That's all.
Well, you're flying, mate. So we'll be there.
I mean, in terms of the free hit, Bruno, I've got to ask you this question because if I didn't, I'll be crucified. But Botwood?
No, he's in my actual team, not in my free hit team.
I had to put that in there. I'm sorry.
It's more Bucker's thing. If you
I know it is, but I watched you guys lose it yesterday, and I couldn't help myself.
How is the free hit?
It's looking all right. I think it's just about picking a bunch of players from some really good options, because like the debate that I'm having in my head is should I go for Mane or should I go for De Bruyne? Should I go for Bamford or should I go for Antonio? Should I go for Luka Dean or should I go for
so many 50-50 decisions, bro.
So many 50-50 decisions, so many good players to pick from this week, because I think there are some 5 standout fixtures. Danny Ings decided to put his hands up last night as well. He plays Fulham as well, somebody I didn't consider until last night. So
you didn't even mention Mahrez yet.
Yeah, Mahrez is nailed in my team, I think.
Oh, he is nailed. Okay.
Yeah. I think you have to go
That's
for
Triple
City, because I think people that are not on a free hit aren't necessarily going to invest in City at the moment. So I'm thinking Triple City for sure.
And people seem to really think that there's going to be mass rotation for City. And I put a tweet out about this today. I don't know if any of you read it, but they need momentum. They've got a Champions League final in a few weeks' time. If you really think that they're gonna play like their D team, like it's not. I don't think it's happening.
I see them playing the game against Newcastle and then the final game against Everton. I think the team against Brighton will be a little dodgy, but I think these 2 teams, because you want cohesiveness as well, right? So
yeah.
I think he's gonna.
Has that Aguero penalty miss put you completely off him though?
It has, but yesterday's loss to Leicester has made me think about him again. I'll see what Pep says in the press conference tomorrow.
Man, I was swearing about Aguero Saturday night. Having sold Mendy, like I just couldn't believe it. I was fuming.
Ridiculous, wasn't it?
He's dead to me. He's done.
That would be dead to me. I still think there's one haul in him in those last 3 games. One haul.
I mean, yeah, that last game obviously is Spurs away to Leicester, and obviously most people have got Kane, and it's Diego Kane to Aguero over that last week.
I'll tell you what, though, that Leicester defense without Evans is very dodgy. I don't really rate it.
We scored 7 there, didn't we, a few years back at Leicester?
Yeah, that feels like 10 years ago when Kane
that was last game of the season.
Kane and Son went blitz. 4
Mm.
goals and
It
3
was-
goals or something.
It was Kane. Kane was golden boot chasing, wasn't he? So
Yeah,
that's what he was doing. He scored something like 6 goals in the last 2 games and won it.
Yeah.
Which was a bit mad.
And I mean, do you guys really want to sell Kane before potentially his last game for Spurs?
Exactly.
I don't have him.
No. I mean, 3 Spurs fans on the stream. I don't think you guys want to sell him.
No,
No.
I can't sell him. I can't. I've made my bed with it. I game week 1 we talked about it, but about an hour before the deadline, I said to my wife, and I said to her, I was like, she could see I was stressing over the team, and she was like, what are you stressing about? And she was like, you haven't got Kane, have you? I said, I haven't got Kane. I haven't got Kane or Son in game week 1. She was like, the thing is, they kill you because I can't help myself. I love them, And I said, I'm going to go without him. So I went without him. Game week 2, I wasn't talking to her.
I sold Kane for game week 2. I kept Son, but I sold Kane. That was rough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun times. So 3 game weeks to go, boys. What we thinking?
We're thinking about next season.
Thinking about next season.
Not all of us are. Not all of us are.
You've done a lot of hits recently, Prano. I will ask you this is because I'm in this boat here where I probably am looking at. I need a -8 minimum to get 11 players, and I need a -12. I feel like to probably get a team that I like. 3 game weeks to go. Would you take those kind of hits?
Absolutely, do it. Absolutely, no second thoughts. I'm not sitting on the fence with my opinion, yeah, because I've realized that. Actually thought about it, and there's been some serious haulage and serious goals in the end of the season generally, and especially in game week 37 and 38, we have those 10 games at home, right? So I think you target those because Bale's playing against in front of the fans for the first time. Kane's probably playing in front of the fans for the last time. I mean, you need to target those home games. There are hauls there for the taking. I mean, you don't really worry too much about what, because I'm guessing you don't have 11, right? So it's a 2-point hit. I think you go all in right now, set yourself up for the last 3 game weeks, and then just see how it goes.
And as United fans, I'll ask you these ones as well. Then, because I could move, say, Greenwood on, and I would be able to get Foden, or I could move, say, Bruno on and get Mahrez. Like, do you think I can get through the last 2 game weeks without Bruno, including a home to Fulham, if I've got Greenwood?
Who's
Go on,
answering?
Andy?
Me. I think the Fulham game's the one you've got to worry about. Home to Fulham's is a nice fixture, and I can imagine them both playing. I think that Wolves game, is quite close to the Europa League final, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few changes there, to be perfectly honest. I'm probably going to go without United now to the end of the season. I fell into. I had no United in my team anyway because I was ready for the blank, and I was always going to free hit this week. So I free hitted 3 United in, and I now don't have any United for next week, and do have 14 for next week, which I wasn't going to mention, but I'll mention that now.
14.
Yeah, 14. Yeah. So,
Fuck's sake, Andy.
so I probably will go without United now, and I'll just try and. I think that Fulham game is obviously lovely, but I feel like there are other places to attack, so it's not like that's the only nice fixture. And yes, Bruno. Yes, he looked bloody good against Roma, but he's not producing like he was. Like, he genuinely isn't. He's got players in front of him that are producing for him at the moment, and actually we're a better team because he's not having to perform to the way he was before. So I don't think he's as essential as he was before. I think some United coverage is nice for that Fulham game, but it's not essential, I don't think.
Who is?
Who is? I think those Spurs boys are.
Really?
I think the West Ham boys
not
are
Gareth
as well.
Bale, though.
Not Gareth Bale. I would not be on
Someone
Gareth Bale.
came on my Twitter Spaces today and started talking about Gareth Bale. I was like, leave it out. Honestly, I can't. I don't want to talk about Spurs. No Spurs for me.
I thought about that, Bhuna, but then there's this 8 goals in his last 4 home games.
Gareth Bale?
Yeah. 8 goals in his last 4 games. His last 4 starts, he's not blanked. Minimum got a goal, 2 braces, 1 hat-trick. I mean, how do you argue against that? His home games, he's doing well. And that 37 game, he's playing against in front of the fans for the first time. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's signing up for next season. as well?
There's rumours, but I think it is just
I really hope
rumours
he doesn't.
on that. That thing in front of the fans, when you said it, I was there for his last game. I was behind the goal for his last game,
was I.
the Sunderland game. And we kind of knew it was his last game in the last minute, and he scores an absolute wonder goal. And I remember at the time he was scoring it, just thinking, that's the best we'll ever see. It's the best we'll ever see. And then Kane, as you know, really in terms of the memories, has surpassed that. But at the time, you could tell he is that kind of player. You know, you've seen it in Champions League finals and everything else that he's done since. So there is a thing, when someone mentioned it earlier, about Bale at home in front of fans, even if it is only,
10,000. He don't care though. He doesn't care. That's what I don't like about him.
No.
He just don't care.
He's very hard to read in that way. It's very hard to actually think how much he cares or not. Like it's difficult, but he could easily go big. Free hit team, Pano, this weekend.
This weekend, I've got 3 City. I think I'll have 3 Liverpool as well, because I think West Brom's going to be pretty deflated at the moment. So I've got Mahrez, Foden, and Stones at the moment. I'm thinking of ways to get in De Bruyne. I've got Mane, Salah, and Trent in at the moment. Kane and Calvert-Lewin are non-negotiable. Wolves at home and Sheffield United at home for DCL. And then there's just a little bit of patching about around the edges, right? Because if I downgrade Mane to a Diogo Jota, I can upgrade Rafinha to a Bale because he's playing that home game at the moment. And then there's enough cheap options in defense as well in terms of Dallas. Leeds have a game against Burnley. I've never owned Dallas this season, so I reckon it's a good time to just get him in and see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if Burnley get some goals, and then I'm trying to shoehorn Luca Dean in my team as well. Because
I've got him, and he's not been brilliant this season, but good fixtures next.
It's a free hit for me, right, Bhuna? It's probably the most nailed on clean sheet there is, because they managed to not get a single shot against Palace. So, got to back Everton there. So it's probably a choice between some really good picks, but that's where I am at the moment.
That's a debate I've got actually. You mentioned about kind of most nailed on clean sheet, and their odds, I think FPL Salah posted about it today. They're the most likely to keep a clean sheet this weekend. I've already got Digne, and to field, similar to Baker, to field 11, I've got to make 3 transfers, one of which needs to be defensive because I've only got 2 defenders playing. So I'm debating whether to bring in a City defender or double up on Everton defence. And that Sheffield United and Wolves, those 2 fixes are so tempting. It's a bit difficult. Do I go, a Diaz or a Michael Keane alongside Digne, who I already own? What would you guys?
Do you own Dallas?
I don't own Dallas.
Go there.
I like the John Stones. I like the John Stones pick, especially for next game week. If you look at Newcastle, I'm sure we looked at this in the past where we saw that they were horrific at defending set pieces as well. So, like a De Bruyne double up there could potentially yield some good numbers. De Bruyne to Stones, free kicks.
In the same light, Diaz also not a bad option, I presume, in your opinion, or?
No, well, I've got Diaz, and I don't think I'm going to be playing him. Obviously, obviously he's a good option, but I think if you're looking for someone slightly cheaper, then I think Stones is.
I just think you go Dallas over Stones. Like I looked at it, I'm 2 from 3 on Dallas, Robertson, and Digne, and I think it's difficult. I can't make my mind up on which 2 of the 3 that I'd want.
I'd go Dallas because you're not going to get him as a defender next season.
Yeah, exactly. Do it.
Yeah.
Last hurrah.
Last hurrah. Cool. We got a few questions probably about the rest of the season. Should we do that and then we'll move on to next?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to run through them?
Yeah,
there's quite a lot of similar ones. So, I'll start off with an easy one. Who's the best keeper for this week on a free hit? Well, Pickford, isn't it?
Pickford or Edison, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. There's a lot of people saying like Antonio, Bamford, Watkins. Where would you go out of those 3?
Andy, what do you reckon?
Yeah.
Me, I love. Who is it between Antonio, Bamford, Watkins?
Yeah.
My transfer is likely going to be Antonio in this week for Nacho, because I don't like Ian Nacho's fixtures moving forward. And Antonio, I love this West Ham team. I think they're absolutely brilliant. I know Antonio struggled in the last game, and I know people say Brighton are good, but without Dunk, I think Dunk is suspended for that game.
Yeah.
So I think Antonio could run riot personally. I think they've been waiting for Antonio to come back. I think they've just been filling in somebody for him, and now he's back. I think they're loving the fact that he's back, and they're creating so many chances most weeks as well.
Are his cheese strings going to hold up though?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's only 3 weeks. Hopefully it does. I mean, to be honest, I was looking at one point at getting Wilson in, and now he's out again. So, literally, I was really tempted with that because I love Wilson. But yeah, I love Antonio. I think I've loved him since last year when he scored me 4 goals against Norwich. So I'm going to be all over him. I think that if money wasn't an option, I'd be going Calvert-Lewin. But I think Antonio's the one this week for me.
Andy, you rode the Wilson train at the start of the season, didn't you? You got all those odds, I remember.
No, it was Mitrovic I had at the very beginning, and then I rode Wilson for about 12 weeks, and he did all right most of the time. But yeah, and then he just gets injured all the time, doesn't he?
He's got the highest. It's a crazy stat. He's got the highest points per game amongst all FPL forwards this season. It's insane.
Yeah, he's so clinical.
I was so bitter on that penalty. I was so bitter, and I've never forgiven him for that one afterwards, where he just fell over and got it. And I was like, oh,
I had him for that. That was brilliant. I had him for the remember they were playing Crystal Palace and they won 2-0 after the 90th minute.
Yeah,
0-0 in the 90th minute, and Joe Linton scored as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
and I had him for that. Yeah, he got me a goal and an assist. That was lovely stuff.
Oh my god! Sorry, I was watching the game. Jorginho almost scored a own goal, and Smith Rowe just scored again.
I've never seen a Tottenham fan react so much to Chelsea versus Arsenal.
Mate.
Well,
I'm a football fan this season. That's all.
Talking about benches, by the way, in my free hit, this will make you feel better. I've got Smith Rowe first sub. I've got Mitchell on there with 7 points, and I've got somebody else on there with 8 points. Oh, Leicester lad that scored the goal last night, Luke Thomas.
Amazing.
So I've got about 30 points on my bench.
Yeah, but you've got 95 points in your first team, so I don't feel bad for you at all.
I care about that.
Right. So, despite City have won the title, it's time to sign the likes of Mahrez and Foden. I think we've basically covered that. Is it worth targeting Man City assets despite clinching the title? Yes.
So if I wasn't on free hit, and if I was, just having my transfers in place, I'd have Liverpool, Leeds United, West Ham, and Spurs above Man City, because you're guaranteed to get 250 plus minutes out of these players before the end of the season. With City, I reckon it's a Newcastle. If your team is, let's say, healthy, you don't need too many transfers, etc., and you can afford to do a little bit of a hokey cookie and all that shit, I reckon it's worth going in for the City players. But if your team is not correctly set up for the final 3 game weeks, then I'd target these teams ahead of City at the moment.
Do you know, I'm really glad you said that, Pranel, because I don't think I'd be going all in on City unless on a free hit. I completely understand, but I just wouldn't trust the fact they're going to start. And if you're going to try and attack the last 3 weeks, unless you're really going for it and you don't care if you're going to come 100k or $1 million based on your gamble, I don't think I'd go for it personally.
Well, that's it. I'm 500k. My biggest achievement this season is going to be beating Bhuna. So
you're not there.
I think we're making.
I reckon it's a little bit of a competition we can have, because I'm about 30 points between the both of you.
Oh mate, fuck off! You, I know you're going to catch us from like 1.5 million.
This is good, boys. This is good. Yeah. I'm getting worried that Andy's going to catch me. I thought I was clear, but he's.
What are you now?
I'm about 19k at the moment.
19k. I'm not.
Yeah,
mate,
what a humble brag.
You got to add 12
really
points.
Worried that he's going to catch
12
me.
points I've got to add on for it just to get through to next week. So.
Oh, I'm really worried. What's your overall rank? Oh yeah, I'm 20th in the world, mate. Why?
You got 9 players to play. Well.
I am not catching 19k. You're absolutely fine.
I'll meet you halfway, mate. Don't worry.
Yeah, fine. Absolutely fine. I'm more than happy with that.
Bhuna, you reckon it's worth going on City? You mentioned that.
Say that again, sorry.
You reckon it's worth going on City, even with your transfers? What's the thinking there?
Yeah, I'm going to be loading up on City, I think. Is that what you're asking? Like whether it's worth going on? Yeah. I think so. Just for that Newcastle fixture alone, and also there's no Wilson now as well from a defensive perspective. So, and Diaz is one of the more nailed on options in that team. So I think he should be okay to continue. I'm hoping so anyway. But I was so close to making my transfers the other day. But they're the first game, aren't they, on Friday? So I'm hoping we get some team news before making my transfers. Trust me, the urge to make my transfers was really strong this week. I fought off like proper monsters to not make my transfers this week. But yeah, I think City will do really well. De Bruyne as well. He's priced quite high. That's I think it'd be a nice differential. Are you thinking to put De Bruyne in?
Yeah, he's in my thinking, but Bakar showed us some stats on the stream yesterday, and basically there's not much between Mahrez, Foden, and De Bruyne. So if you're not spending 6 to 4 million more on De Bruyne, you can get a lot more out of your free hit team. So that's nothing there. If I had to pick a City midfielder, Mahrez would be number one at the moment.
Do you think Mahrez takes penalties now?
Yeah, I reckon so.
I think so.
Mahrez captain. So. I wanted to ask about captaincy actually, if it's not a question that's going to come up later, CY. But it's an interesting one this week. There's a few obviously obvious options, the likes of Kane, Salah, who've got brilliant fixtures. Maybe even Calvert-Lewin against Sheffield United is a really good one. Is anyone thinking to go differential outside of that?
At the moment, I have it on Mahrez.
It's a Friday factor for me. I'm petrified.
I'm saying on Mahrez, but there's part of me that says, especially it weighs into your head the other factors.
You're not going Mahrez. There's no way you're going Mahrez. Basically.
I've already done it once this season and it went badly.
You're not going Mahrez. There's no chance.
So I did it and I got, what did I get? I only got 4 points despite getting no returns, which was quite impressive.
I remember that.
Yeah. So
have you still got
Bhuna, it's good that you mentioned the early factor syndrome, early kickoff syndrome, because I think it's a benefit, right? Because if your captain's not doing well on Friday, you got the weekend off. You say, fuck FPL. I'm not going to watch. There's no point, torturing myself. And I'm going to actually enjoy a weekend. You can plan the weekend and do good things, So you say, fuck off FPL.
Exactly.
I think there's a flip side to it. Yeah.
Take a -12, captain Mahrez, don't make up the -12, and then just turn it off. That's you done. He's in there.
Have you got Salah, Baker?
I won't be captain in Salah, I don't think so. There's so many games to keep playing, and I think that at best he'll get 60 minutes against West Brom. That'd be my worry on him.
That's fine. Half 6 on Friday. Your captaincy will be on Kane. I'm sure it will.
It's Kane. It's Kane. It's Kane.
I wouldn't be worried about Salah's minutes. I don't buy it. I need 12 points out of 12.
I am quite tempted on Son, actually, on this one this week. I thought he was brilliant the other day. We haven't got a lot to shout about, but creativity, he's class at the moment. And people will say he doesn't have that many shots in the box compared to those. He doesn't need to. We talked about it last week. Like, Son 20 yards out is better than any other finish in the league at 6 yards out.
Is Bale impacting
pushes
Kane,
it in,
by the way?
I don't think so. The Palace game, he played with him and they both got 2, But I do think that what you do see is, though, the breakaway goal that Bale scored is, if there's a breakaway, you've now got 2 pace players. So Son doesn't have to wait. He can do and he can play and he can do it with them. And they've got to wait for Kane. So it's just not even in the picture. But yeah, I feel like, but then you look at Kane last week and you say he blanks and he very unlucky to blank. Very, very unlucky to blank on it. But yeah, it could be it. There's lots of options this week, isn't it? Which is good. That's what we want.
I'm thinking I'm going to be doing an hokey cokey, to be honest, getting rid of Greenwood this week and then bringing him in the following week for Zaha. Just because I need to field 11. Zaha's an absolute troll, by the way. In case anyone listening doesn't know, Zaha's a prick. Never pick Zaha in your team. He's pissed me off a little bit. Mate, honestly, you can't make it up, though. That penalty as well. Like, the one chance you get. And do you know what? I was halfway through tweeting, watch Forced to save this. My phone flew out the window.
Like, did you not see the picture? Like, just before he takes it, the picture comes up of Millie, of his penalties, last 5 penalties, literally all in the same place, bottom left-hand corner. I was like, you can't, to the keeper's left as it was, so bottom right for him. And I was like, he can't possibly place it there, but that is exactly where the keeper's going to go. And he just does it. He just pushes it. Have I got lost like when he was a £7 million asset? He was a good penalty taker, wasn't he? He didn't always put it in the same place.
Had a hell of a year.
Just, it was, all he had to do was just do a bit of research. Oh, look, he always puts it there. I might as well just fall over.
Yeah.
Right. Do we have any other questions? So, yeah, we do. So, a choice between Jota and Dallas or Robertson and Antonio on a free hit for next game week.
Robertson and
Depends.
Antonio for me.
Yeah.
I reckon.
For me, it depends. If Jota gets a rest tomorrow night, I'd want to play him. It's all dependent on that for me. I'd say Jota and Robertson. I reckon Jota. I got Jota. I think he'll be benched tomorrow.
Jota and Robertson. Okay, and just mixing it up. That's cool. It was either Jota and Dallas or Robertson and Antonio. But Bhuna,
Yeah, we'll go.
Have it your own way,
Get the
Bhuna.
ones you want, mate. Get the ones you want.
What else is there? Top 3 Everton assets on a free hit.
Top 3?
Top 3 Everton assets on a free hit.
Yeah, this one's obvious.
I mean, TCL, Dean, and Pickford.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I thought that was going to be easy. What would each of you say your biggest weakness is in FPL? And how would you want to change that for the way you play next season? That seems a bit more in depth.
Oh.
Bhuna?
Fucking hell, everything. I want to change it. No. I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to stick to my guns. I just feel like I've been a bit unlucky. I feel like the risky kind of differential moves have just, those that play the game that way haven't really benefited. And the boring dullard bastards have done really well, simple as, to be honest.
Living off that syringe, man.
But no. What would I do differently? I probably is that what the question was? I don't even remember, to be honest.
Yeah, basically, what do you think is your weakness, and what would you do differently?
I think where my season went wrong, another question wasn't that, but where what I would do differently would be, I tried to go differential too early this season, and I made this example on one of the Twitter Spaces. Sorry to keep referencing that, but I basically said, how in football a team goes like 2-0 up and they try and really go for it straight away and end up conceding another goal or two. I feel like I tried to make my comeback too early this season rather than sticking with a bit more kind of, like the more nailed on picks. I don't like to talk about effective ownership too much. I don't like playing the game that way. However, if I had played a little bit safer and stuck with the more sensible picks and tried to go differential with 2 or 3 players rather than my captaincy, I think I would have finished on a bit more of a respectable rank. I think that's where I went wrong.
Fair enough. Andy?
So it's a bit of a tough one, really. I changed massively from last year. So last year I was the first year on Twitter, and I've said this on quite a few things. I got majorly influenced by Twitter and got majorly influenced in fearing the Twitter backlash, which sounds mad, really, when you think, I came on Twitter and I had a 15K finish, 30K finish, and a 50K finish 3 years in a row, whatever it was. And so I obviously wasn't that bad, and came on Twitter and thought everybody was an expert, and started to change the way I was thinking. And I'm trying my hardest to get back to the way I was thinking before now. So I think my biggest thing I've done now is I try and make my decisions without even looking on Twitter. And I think that's a big thing. And I think it probably sounds a bit silly, but that's basically what I've been doing, and I've been getting back to kind of winning ways now this year, which is quite nice. So I'd probably do something like that, just making sure I make my moves and I'm aware of what my own thoughts are rather than everybody else's thoughts, if that makes sense.
Where does everyone sit on form? Sorry, where does everyone sit, by the way, on form versus fixtures? Because I've always been fixtures, but I felt like form's really superseded this season.
I mean, me personally, I hate the idea of when people say there's no such thing as form. I genuinely think there is form. I think there's confidence. And I think players, when you look at Iheanacho recently, he scored that goal against, who was it he scored against? Was it West Ham? No.
That banger.
Was it?
Everyone.
Yeah, the banger. The one I literally didn't see it coming. The one that woke my family up when it was late at night. And
It woke mine up too as well for the wrong reason.
And you just think he wouldn't have done that 6 weeks ago. So for people that say form isn't a thing, I don't believe that. I've always been a form guy in terms of if a guy's playing and he's playing well, you don't take him out of your team. But at the same time, fixtures do, if they've got nice fixtures, then they obviously play themselves into form, don't they? So I think a mixture of both. I wouldn't ever say I was one or the other. I would say I just kind of use them both when I need to, if that makes sense. I don't know. What do you think, Pranal?
I mean, what came to my head right now, just thinking about it, is when it comes to the big hitters, the more reliable guys, I think fixtures is something that plays more. And when it comes to the guys who, let's say, 8 million, 7 million, 6 million, somebody is not shown what they're made of, to us generally. I think form matters more there rather than fixtures. So,
no, there's one player I can think of which that doesn't appeal to. Fucking Raheem Sterling, prick.
He's been a big anomaly though this season.
Yeah,
I fell into that trap so many
He's
times.
directly ruined me.
Yeah.
In general, though, I do agree on that. Is that if you've got a big hitter, I think that's probably my weakness, though. In that, I hate the idea of not being able to cheer on a player that I've got. So when I know that there's like a captain that's over 100% owned, and I've got him, and I think he's the most one, I'm so naturally drawn to have them as my captain because I hate the idea that I don't want to cheer players on that are in my team. It really messes with me. And
can't wait for Bruno to get sent off against Liverpool. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, so I just think.
Do you not just try and captain the people you think will get the most points?
Well, that genuinely though, there's a very strong correlation with that one, isn't it?
Yeah, usually
is you look at it and go, well, that'll be there. Does help worst weaknesses because you can't help yourself. If anything, though, it's helped this season. For all Tottenham fans, because there's only when you look at the top. Well, I'm 20,000, and 1,000 of those are Tottenham. That's not actually that normal. Not very good at FPL in general. I can normally do pretty well in that world, but yeah, I still have to lose a little bit of my biases towards certain teams. I think I can't help yourself, but you got to enjoy the game, haven't you? You've got to enjoy the way that you play it. So crack on.
You say about enjoying the game, though. I gave this some thought over the past few days. Would I be happier if I finished top 50k? Let's just say not top 10k, but top 50k, but played a slightly more defensive game, a bit more safer? I think I would. I would genuinely. I might not have enjoyed the game as much, but I'd feel a lot better about not having such a shit rank. Genuinely. So maybe I'm not as. You wouldn't.
I wouldn't. Because I mean, the thinking in my head is that the way that I play, that's led to me having the seasons that I've had, right? Mm-hmm. So I mean, I was thinking about this question when CY asked us, and I think my problem is discipline. Because I can't do the right thing that you're supposed to be, which is the obvious thing, and it sort of doesn't sit right with me. Because as like there's got to be more. So I'm searching for different answers and different routes all the time, and then you're trying to get an edge against everybody else, right? And I want to push myself in terms of thinking that's different. And how I think I can probably change this is maybe be disciplined for the first 7, 8, 10 game weeks. But then it's probably jumping on the gun in terms of how this season went, because I've had a couple of seasons where not many people jumped on Michu and Petric game week 1. That season about 5 or 6 game weeks ago. It was sort of a differential move, and that gave me a great start. And I was able to go ahead with that. So I think the narratives change every season, but I was in wildcard game week 25, and I went with a very template wildcard. And I was talking to a friend, and I'm like, he's telling me you're fucking at 1.2 million. Why the fuck did you go with such a template wildcard? And I felt terrible because I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? In this game trying to do this. I need to have few more differentials in there and try gaining an edge. And that's what I've been doing since I gave up on the season 5 or 6 game weeks ago, and things have been working. But yeah, if I had to pinpoint a weakness, it'd be discipline. And I try getting that into my game in the first 6-7 game weeks, and then you back your instinct and two different things that you want to try.
See why
Yeah,
he's given up on the season, but he's still going to beat us. How embarrassing is that going to be?
It's terrible. It's terrible. No, something I was going to ask is, I'm newer to the Twitter space for FPL than all of you guys, and for you, Bhuna, Andy, LR, you obviously have like large followings on Twitter. Does that impact the way you make decisions on a week by week basis at all, or do you try to ignore that kind of? I don't want to call it noise because it's obviously great people respect your opinion about FPL, of course, because you make good decisions. But does that come into it at all from your side?
I mean, I touched on it just now. I mean, I don't have the same following as like Lateriser and Bhuna, but at the same time, yeah, it did. But I kept thinking every time I mentioned somebody that I was thinking about that might do very well, and people would say, "Why are you doing that?" I can remember talking about Saka when Saka did well. I think he scored a cheeky little lob. It looked like a cross and it went in. And I said, actually, I'm considering getting him. And someone said, yeah, but you wouldn't be doing that if he hadn't just scored. And then I thought, oh, actually, no, that's probably right. I won't get him. And then he scored 3 goals in the next 2 games. And you just think these little things are stopping me from doing it. I shouldn't even be really talking about it. And so, yeah, I'm trying. That's the big thing I'm trying my hardest to do at the moment is just not to listen to people on Twitter, because most people don't actually know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh. Can't wait to send this one out. Say, listen to our pod.
It's true.
Andy says you
I did a thread about that saying most people on Twitter are idiots, but they don't want to hear it.
I'm a yes and no. I'll start with a no because I don't really listen to what other people say. Or do you know what I really hate the most? When people take advice from a content creator or someone and then be like, "Oh, it didn't work." Like this, own your own fucking decision. Don't play. At the end of the day, you're playing a game. If you're making your decisions based on what someone else has said entirely and nothing to do with what you think, then you probably shouldn't be playing the game. Simple as. Yes, though, this season in particular, because I've been a bit of an idiot with the injections and I've kind of not gone for players which I know are widely owned just because I wanted to have a bit of fun and, be like, see, I told you so. X player, Bruno being the prime example. Admittedly, Bruno, more recently has gone on a bit of a barren run, but when I was actually talking about it, he wasn't doing too bad. So a bit yes and no from me, to be honest.
Hello.
I've thought about this, and I've been chatting with Zoff about this, and he mentioned that you might have been a little overconfident at the start of the season, but I think about the way I played the game for the last 7 or 8 years, and that's generally how I like doing this. I think the problem is that I was on Twitter this season, and Twitter wasn't wrong in terms of the things. It's a little contrasting to what Andy had to say, but the template that Twitter had this season was very well researched. The things that Twitter was saying this season, they were very well researched, and that's sort of something that I need to deal with as a personality, because I don't want to take what Twitter is telling me, right? Because I believe that there's confidence in my own thinking that I'm better. And the thing is that the solution that I came up with in my head is what Andy said, that you switch off from Twitter when you're making your own decisions, and then think about what you want to do and whether Twitter is in agreement or whether the template is in agreement with that. Fair enough. But I just want to gain an edge every single time. That's the thinking.
Yeah, I think I've fallen foul of probably too much information this season. Say last season, back end of last season was kind of when I sort of entered FPL Twitter, and obviously with the podcast this season, just chatting to Baker every week's been great. But I've taken on so much more information from sources that I never used to use, and I'm finding that a lot of it sort of contradicts. Parts of it contradict each other, which means that I make myself unsure about decisions that I want to make, and then I found myself in a position where I wanted to be more bullish on captains, and I think I've gone a bit too aggressive at times. And I don't think I've picked a Bruno, Salah, Kane twice in the past like 15 game weeks or something like that from captains, which is it's unusual and rather aggressive. But I've had like the likes of Trent and Cancelo. I've captained Dallas, and yeah, don't get me wrong, it's fun to own, it's fun to captain them and see what happens. Bit of a pain when they don't return, but you sort of then just shrug it off. But I'd rather not shrug it off. I'd rather actually pick the right captain and then get a better score, get a better rank.
I agree, mate. I completely resonate with what you said there, and also I think it kind of goes with what we were saying earlier about form versus fixtures. I think I've picked captaincies a lot of times this season on players who've got a good fixture but no form, and I think it's okay going for a differential captain to, you know, what the group think is or what the highest effective ownership is, as long as there's some form. But where there's no form, I might look to change that in the future. I've done it, obviously Sterling being the prime example, so many times. He's done so well for me in previous seasons, so obviously I've got that kind of tendency to lean towards him. But, you know, that's given me something different to think about next season, I think.
Yeah, it's something I'm thinking about right now. So if you're trying to do that, if you're trying to captain somebody differential, right, I think it's essential to insure yourself against the highest effective owned captain. Because if you're thinking about it, and if you're backing your own judgment of the players, the effective ownership that you're trying to gain when you're captaining somebody different is, let's say, 180, 190%. And what you're losing is 100% by not captaining that person. So if you're trying to back yourself, more often than not, make sure you're getting yourself insured by owning the player that's going to be heavily captained.
Old Magnus Carlsen does that, doesn't he? That's one thing they've looked at with the old chess master, is that he's very often owned the most highest owned, but very rarely captained highest owned. So he knows a thing or two about gamesmanship and that sort of business. So it's definitely one for me for next season to look at and not be as fearful of those ones that are 150, 160. Look at, as Andy said, look at the ones that you think is going to score the most points. That's the ones.
I'm just coming back in a minute. My bladder's busting.
It's also as well, like, it's genuinely worth mentioning. I've mentioned this before as well. Like, I think people sometimes will hear someone like Pranel talk because he plays such a good game, especially like last year, and they'll take just snippets of it and they'll try and copy it, and then they'll be really disappointed when it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you know, they'll do something like, they'll go like Pranel captain Martial last year when he scored that hat trick. I still remember it because it was a hell of a punt to go for it.
I remember.
And people will go, right, oh, brilliant, next week I'm going to go for someone else as well. And they won't realise that Pranel's also got the rest of his team set up beautifully with a good foundation of points. And they'll have a shit team, get someone like Martial in, captain him, and be really disappointed, and they'll never go back to taking those punts again. And I feel like it's important to make sure the rest of your team does have that solid foundation to take those punts, which is exactly what you were talking about with making sure you have those players that have a high effective ownership, but captain elsewhere. And I think it's really, really tempting to take just snippets of someone's team and go with it, but it's that whole approach you've got to look at, I think.
How much did you pay Andy to say that, Pranil? Because you disappeared.
He doesn't know what he said, but
I have no idea what Andy said.
You can listen to it later. It's fine.
just concur. It's fine.
This was totally a private conversation. So Andy, when I go to the loo,
So yeah, this injection thing, you know, literally amazing. Best thing that's ever happened to Twitter.
So
yeah, do I need to go to the loo?
one thing we did want to talk about, and it wasn't on the original sort of list of things we were going to talk about, but you know, the ability to celebrate your own FPL success. What did you call it? You know, glow ticket or something like that?
Glow ticket, yeah.
Go on, just explain that from your point of view.
So there's a lot of conversation around mental health at the moment, right? And there's a lot of people that feel very downbeat when everybody around is doing so well in the FPL community, and then you're having a shit game week, so you feel worse. But I'm like, why do you feel worse? Why do you not like these people that you're not essentially competing with them? You're not with them in cash leagues or anything of that sort. You're talking to them about FPL probably 4 or 5 hours a day. Why do you feel like bad when they're doing well? Because, you know, we're chatting, we're celebrating. I mean, I remember Andy, I remember Bhuna, I remember Baker. I was talking to them last season, and I was having the time of my life. Right? I was having the season of my life, and I was extremely gloaty in terms of the season I was having. But I can hear these guys were genuinely supporting me. They were genuinely enjoying this whole little thing that was happening. And in my head, I'm thinking that what's changed this season? Why isn't there that sense of community in terms of celebrating each other's success? You know, and then there's a debate in terms of everybody feels bad when you're doing well. I genuinely don't feel bad when others are doing well. I like it if it's somebody in the community is doing well, because we're talking about the right things, and somebody's doing well, or somebody's in the top 100, 200, 500. People are not open about their success. People are not celebrating openly, And I feel that's changed this season because of this mental health conversation. And what I have to say on that matter is if you're feeling bad, if somebody is doing, better than you or doing well, and you're not doing well, I reckon you need to question yourself whether you're taking this game too seriously. Because it's a game at the end of the season. We're all friends. We're talking for hours in a week together, and you need to be able to celebrate everybody else's success. Because I remember you guys, and you were happy. I don't have a shred of doubt, that you guys were jealous or thinking, oh, he's talking too much. It was just fun and games. And even if let's say you have a rival, right? Like Baker and Seabuyer in the chat, if they're rivalry, if you're throwing those good weeks in your rival's face, in my opinion, that is the fabric of FPL. That is the essence of FPL. You're competing, right? Imagine City winning a title and saying we're not celebrating because Liverpool and Manchester United will feel too bad. I mean, where is the gamesmanship? Where is the sportsmanship in something like that, right? I mean, it teaches you a lesson to take it on the chin. Take it on the chin. And that's all I have to say on the matter at the moment.
I totally agree. I think you should be able to celebrate your success. You should be able to have fun with your friends about your success, and then you should expect them to have fun when they get success. And if you all get success at the same time, great. If you're on the wrong side of it one week, then so be it. But you'll be on the right side of it another week, as far as I'm concerned. And you said it quite right. I mean, it really is a game, and we've all got to remember that it's a game. We all have a lot of fun playing the game, and you're right. I think if you find that it impacts you seriously, then you probably need to take a step back away from it and just
talk about it more. That's the other thing is if it is affecting you, is talk about it more.
You know what? This is a topic that resonates quite a lot with me, and I don't get jealous of people. And I was one of those last year that was, genuinely really happy for you. And there's a few others that did really, really well. I think for me, when it comes to mini leagues, I get very, very competitive. And I think what I might know, but no, it's not good. But what I took part in a lot of cash leagues this season, and I might cryptocurrency ones, but I might look to stop doing cash leagues just so that it reduces the pressure I put on myself, if anything. If I was doing well, which it feels like is that absolute eternity ago, like my last good finish was like 2 seasons ago, I would be unbearable. Facts.
No.
Like a lot of people, I get a lot of people blocking me on Twitter because of my injections. But trust me, it'd be 3 times as bad if I was like in the top 100.
Do you know what? I genuinely think the pandemic's had a massive effect on the community, and it's had an effect in loads of ways anyway. And I remember Pranal, you tweeted about the glow ticket, didn't you? And we had a bit of a conversation about it, you, me, and Matthew Penique and that, wasn't it? And it was saying that I genuinely think this has turned from a hobby into everything for some people because there's been nothing else to do. And so because of that, it's become some people's, it's just become their everything. And they're, all they're doing is thinking about FPL, planning so much. And when they see it all fall apart and somebody else doing so well, that's why it's become a bit of when other people are doing well, you're affecting my mental health. And actually, it's probably not FPL that's affecting theirs mental health. It's the fact we've got a bloody pandemic on. And I think that's obviously having a big effect. I do also think this year, the people that plan and spend a lot of time planning can sometimes be just absolutely fucked over by what's happening at the moment. I've got someone like Flapjack, who I talk to all the time, Flappy. He plans to the nth, and he's been screwed over by every single thing that's happened this year. Every single thing that's happened, the Spurs postponement, the Liverpool postponement, everything has happened in the wrong way.
Triple Chelsea defence was his own fault, in fairness.
Yeah, he was ahead of the curve. But it is, and I think that's had a massive impact on people. And I think it's just hard. But I completely agree with what Pranal said. If you spend so much of your time with this community, why can't you be happy when the community does well? as a community, we should be doing well. That's the whole point of it. So when they do well and we don't like the fact they're doing well, I don't understand that at all.
People actually really not like when other people do it. Look at Ola this season. Ola, the guy's been number one for so long. He dropped off like 10 weeks. He's back on top again. Incredible. Yeah. I was speaking to, I can't remember his name, some guy who's in the last 16 of the FPL Cup over lunch today. Unbelievable. And it's like, come on, let's back you. I was like, all right, mate, we need to keep. That's the one. Yeah, exactly. He joined the spaces at lunchtime today. I was like, I couldn't believe it. Final 16 out of 8 million players. I was like, yeah, I went to see when I got knocked out. Didn't qualify.
I'm in that club, mate.
I'll tell you what, though, right? Sorry, Andy, you're going on.
That's all right. Go on. I was going to say, I think people were getting annoyed because of that whole hashtag points thing that went around for a little while, wasn't there?
I thought that was banter. Was it not?
No.
It genuinely wasn't. But it was.
Yeah.
But you look at Flapjack, right? He's having a shit season. Look at Bhuna, he's having a shit season. Look at me, he's having a shit season. I think that, because of this mental health thing that people have a perception about, where you're not supposed to talk about. You look at Bhuna, you look at me, look at Flappy. You embrace the shit season that we've had. People tell me you haven't enjoyed the season. I mean, fuck you. I've really had a ball. I'm having a ball talking to you guys about it. I like talking about FPL. I'm here every week, every day talking about FPL. Yeah, I mean, why is it so difficult to say I fucked up? I mean, why is that so difficult to say? Why do you have to take this game so seriously? I mean, you don't need to feel bad about it. It's a game. I mean, it's so dependent on luck. Yeah, there is skill. Because I don't want to admit that because I've had some good seasons. But it's so dependent on luck, right? So you don't take it so seriously and you laugh off when shit doesn't go your way. That's it. And you celebrate your mate's success. That's it. You're not in a cash league with most of the people you're talking on in the FPL community all day, right? So
I genuinely have people come into my DM saying thank you for posting your shit scores.
Mate, I've had that.
Genuinely, yeah. They come in and say thank you so much for actually telling the truth about what you're having a shit week or your transfer went really badly or stuff like that, because they're like, obviously you go on Twitter on a Friday night or a Sunday night, whatever it is, and the amount of people that are like, yeah, everything's brilliant, and it's like, actually, it's quite nice to see that somebody's not doing so well.
Do you know I logged on this morning and saw somebody had triple captained Shay Adams and was disappointed, or he said he wasn't too fussed that he didn't triple captain Benteke, who he had alongside him, and he was sitting there with 54 points from 2 players. So yeah, I know what you mean. It's mad.
And I think that's the key, right, Andy? I think that's the thing that people don't realize, that when we're having shit game weeks, we're on there talking about our shit game weeks on Twitter as well. And I think if you're having that balance, it's all right. Load away.
Vote away. That's my next season.
The amount of people that I've had comment on my shit saying, why would I listen to you? You're like 600k. I'm not gonna lie, those ones get to me a little bit because it's like, mate, what's your history like? Come, like, one season doesn't define you, for God's sake. Some absolute plonkers amongst a nice handful of people on Twitter. Well, question for everyone. One thing that I'm really looking forward to next season, and I don't know if this is a question that's come up at all, CY, but I can't wait to get away from this spread fixtures. I can't wait to have 6 games at 3 p.m. again. Hopefully we do have it. I think that's really been frustrating for me, because it's just been like frustration upon frustration, rather than like, there being a clean sheet being wiped out and then 1 minute later a player in another game scored for you. I really miss that, and also miss not watching so much football so I can actually watch match of the day.
Yeah, we talked last week.
Yeah, we talked about this. We haven't watched it, and we think that even that's if you look at like Prenil, right? You get all the games anyway, right? You get all the games.
Yeah, everything.
So they're just all in the morning now.
They're all in the But there's an edge. There's almost an edge that you had in the past, because you were able to take more information, and more people have been able to take more information in this season just by watching more football, because of not being able to go outside and stuff like that. And you're right, you don't get the same sort of variance during a game that you would normally do on a Saturday afternoon at 3:30, when 3 goals go in within a minute and your rank can fly around. You end up having an event in a game which can define you. Let's say like Trent conceding a goal in the last minute against Newcastle, and then it getting wiped out via VAR, and then Newcastle scoring again 30 seconds later. that sort of thing. And then you've got to wait another like 3 hours for the next game to finish.
Yeah.
And that is a drag. And I'm definitely looking forward to having hopefully some more games together.
I think that's an impact on the gloat thing as well, a little bit, because we're all like a bit, well, I'm going to gloat about this week that's been going on for 6 days, and I've been like nervous about where I'm going to get the green or red arrow, and it's like, oh God. It just
you know what's really backfired for me this season? Gloating and then goals being ruled out by VAR.
Exactly. Even that, you know, is I just want fans back, mate. I want to go to games. I want fans back. And I want to come out of a game and go, oh, 5 other games have happened and fuck.
Yeah. It's also magnified, right? Like if you're watching one game at a time, you've got one player and either he does something or doesn't. When you've got six games happening at the same time, it sort of averages out more often than not, where you've had 2 players in those 2 games who did well for you and others did well, but yeah, you had those 2 players. There was a comfort blanket as well, probably. And I think Andy's spot on with regards to that, but because of the pandemic and because of the drag game weeks that you have, that sense of normalcy where you had an ensured 2 people doing well for you doesn't happen because you're looking at one game at a time. So yeah, that sort of adds up.
It does. What we're looking forward to next season else then, boys? Players?
Having Salah in my game week 1 team.
Salah game week 1.
Regardless
Just do
of
it.
fixture. Just do it. So yeah, I mean, are there any players that we think that are going to shift significantly from their price point? Or I mean, I think we're all in agreement that Dallas is going to move into midfield. But are there any players that we think are going to jump up based on this season?
Yeah, Foden definitely.
Mahrez,
Greenwood.
I'm big on Rafinha. Rafinha is going to
yeah.
go up. If he stays at Leeds, I can't see them going. I can't see him going above 7 million because I don't think they will. But he's such a good player, and considering he's only coming in January, the effect he's had. He's going to be cracking value next year. He's performing like a 7-8 million player already, so that should continue next year.
If Spurs both have both Son and Kane somehow next season, I really want them to make it hard to have them both.
Yeah.
At the moment, the price is enough that it's very easy to have them both. 2 200-point players. Like, if you think back, it was bloody hard to have Mane and Salah. You couldn't do it really, or you could do it for like the occasional week, but you couldn't do it for very long. Like this season, you've been able to have them and just keep them and just staying. There you go. There's 400, nearly 500 points between them. I'd love them to make them more. Kane 12.5 million or something. Silly. And
I'd love them to make all the premiums like 12.5. To be honest, just make it difficult. Just like make it so that we can only afford like 1/2. But this season we've seen so many people. Obviously they've built up team value, but have like 3 or 4 premiums. That's been a bit.
Mine when you have a few, like the De Bruyne one at 9.5 to start last season and move on. Well, that was you to get those ones, but you just
Mahrez will go up.
You don't want a couple in the same team that you can afford, like 2 real big premiums.
I think it's interesting. I think it will continue to be tough for Kane because he's the only premium striker, really. It genuinely, like he is, especially with Aguero going as well. Unless we have someone like Haaland come in, like Werner was supposed to be the guy, wasn't he? And never really materialised to be that. Although Werner is somebody that's on my list to look out for next year because I think he could get a bit of a price drop, and he does look on it most weeks. But
he could even be a midfielder.
What other premium strikers are there?
Funny.
They moved
you guys must be very excited by that.
Yeah, they moved him. Aubameyang moving in midfield and stuff like that. Like they took away all those premium strikers. It was just all about midfielders, isn't it?
Yep.
Off kick, mate.
I can't really think. I think most of the top clubs are looking for a premium striker in their team at the moment. They're searching for somebody. There's nobody there. Arsenal don't have one. United don't have one. I mean, you can talk about Cavani, but you're always worried about in terms of minutes what he's going to get.
So they can't afford to put him at some high price.
What do you reckon Nacho will be if he goes back to City?
Is he?
Still got the buyback.
Him going back, are they?
Still got the buyback, 50 million. Just do it.
He won't play though, will he?
I don't
Surely
see
he'll
it.
get someone else.
They're not going to buy him. But
No.
I don't think City are the kind of club who are going to announce that Aguero's going to be out and not have a plan in place.
I don't know.
Yeah.
how much is Haaland going to be if
honestly
he goes there?
Haaland?
10.5, 11
I don't know.
million.
Yeah, I was going to say 11. They'll still price it so casuals can get him in. I reckon, personally. I'm not even convinced United are going to get a striker yet. With Cavani signing for another year, I don't think he's priority. I don't think striker's priority.
I definitely
really.
don't think we're going to get a striker. I think it was a case between either spending big on a striker or spending big on a right winger. And I think now that Cavani signed, we're going to get a right winger this season.
So
Be Sancho, wouldn't it?
basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I said this just a couple of days ago to Baker. I think realistically, you could start Rashford, Greenwood spearheading with Rashford one side and Sancho the other.
And you forgot about Martial.
Martial's still in the background.
Yeah, he's still in the background. But I mean, that's good. Sounds good for United. It sounds really good for England. Although then you've got Kane as well, obviously. So
You don't think you go for Kane? Don't think Kane's coming to United?
I don't think so.
I just don't think it's priority for us this year, so I don't think he probably will now.
I think if Cavani didn't sign, we'd go there. But
Yeah.
Cavani signed, I don't think so. I don't see us going there.
Kind of on a slightly different note with who I'm looking forward to seeing next year. I'm looking forward to seeing Buendia and Pukki back in the league. I bloody love Buendia, so I'd love to see him back in the league. Even when he first came into the league, he stormed it with his stats. But obviously Pukki got all the plaudits, didn't he? But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them back in.
And the gifts, mate.
And
Can't
the
wait
gifts,
for
yeah.
The Pukki gifts.
Oh God, that epileptic one.
Yeah.
He's
I think
a
it's
player,
a-
mate.
Go on, see why?
Sorry, I was going to say, I quite a few people thought we might see Buendia in the Premier League again this season. Obviously, that didn't happen. Do you think it's almost certain that Pereira will be in a Premier League team again next season?
Looks
I
like it. I
think
know West Ham
so.
are very interested, aren't they?
Who's that?
I
Sorry.
think
Pereira, West Brom's
Who's
Pereira.
interested?
Oh, I don't know.
Matthias Pereira, yeah, he's been unbelievable this season, hasn't he?
Oh,
In a very poor team.
I think if Arsenal don't keep a hold of Odegaard, I think they'll be looking at him. Somebody like
Arsenal?
that,
Yeah, he'd be a good fit there, to be fair.
I think there are a good few players in the bottom half of the league, that some of the teams up there could use this season. I think. But in terms of FPL and who I'm looking forward to next season, if Potter sticks around at Brighton, I think there's a team to look out for. Especially if they get a striker who's clinical, because they create a ton of chances for their strikers, and they just haven't finished those off. And even in defense, I think somebody like Dunk, somebody like Lamptey, again, he's a little forgotten. I think they've had a lot of bad luck at the top of the season in terms of what they're posting, in terms of their underlines and what the actual results are. So if Potter sticks around at Brighton, that's the team I'm watching for in terms of value picks next season.
Completely agree with Lamptey. I would love to see him fit for a whole season with that Brighton team. Be lovely to own him.
You're right. We talk about Brighton doing Brighton things. It does sound like just a couple of tweaks, and they would be half a dozen places higher and win half a dozen more games. Obviously, that comes hand in hand. But yeah,
I would not be surprised if Potter is with
First manager.
Yeah.
Baker, you're looking more and more like an evil Bond villain as the night goes on.
I am a little bit Bond villain on that, but I wouldn't. There's quite a few rumours going around at the moment that Potter is now the number one sort of target for Tottenham.
I think it'd be a great signing for Spurs.
I saw Roberto Martinez was being linked.
I wouldn't be against that either, but to be honest, but just I don't know. You just don't want. Well, we just don't want Mourinho, so we'll take anything right now.
Bring back Tim Sherwood.
Just do it, But Potter does seem.
And the Gile.
Potter does seem to be the one that seems to be gaining a bit of momentum.
Really? I don't know what I think about that, but to be honest, I was somewhat excited about Mourinho just because of his pedigree, and that didn't go well. So whatever.
I feel like we think we're better than that. We're not better than that.
No, exactly. We've really fallen.
Yeah, we're shit, mate.
What do you think City do next season? Because they normally score 90 to 100 goals. They're on 70-ish at the moment. And I think Bhuna and me fell into that trap in Game Week 3 where we went all out on City attackers, right? Because if you're wildcarding in Game Week 3, you're going big on City attackers.
Oh,
And
mate.
they just didn't do it. So do you think they do this exhaustive sort of strangling the opposition game style again next season, or you think they got more goals in there? Because I think that's going to be a very important point of discussion.
I think it depends a lot on what happens in the next 2 weeks. You know, is if they end up walking away with trophies galore, and they get the big one, then I think that's exactly what they'll do. You know, I think that was a tactical ploy on this one, is that he's done. He has done the same sort of rotation, but it's been different in a way. I feel like there's been more method to it this time. And if you look at like Lego Mayonnaise, you know, it does the big, brilliant grid of players in and out. There is some method to the madness this time that you can almost pick. Like we're all talking about, we expect it. Full against Newcastle, rest against Brighton, full in. Whereas before it'd be like, well, guess Pep, you know, not really sure. I think you feel like you can guess it a little bit more than you used to. And if it works and it delivers the Champions League, why would he do any different? You know,
I mean, what sticks to my head when we're talking about City is, I know you listen to the FPL podcast, right?
Mm-mm.
And I remember Alon saying this around game week 12-13, where they speak specifically about City rehearsing for the Champions League final since game week 13-14, because I think they were the first ones to call out that City defense and how good it was. In terms of, you know, they're changing the game style. They're not going for more than 2 goals. They're looking to strangle their opposition. So I think that's going to be a major point of contention next season in terms of how Pep wants to play with this team next season.
I think fans will make a big difference, because what we saw when they didn't have fans first up was like Harlem Globetrotters, like away and at home. It was 5 goals a game, 4 goals a game. Like after the restart, it was madness. And now it just killed it. And I feel like when teams can kill a game like they can, and there's no fans to try and reignite a team, they just suffocate them, and it's just game's over. Whereas it might change.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I actually don't think it will carry on into next year. I think it's happened massively this year because of squad depth of them and how shallow the other squads are. And you look at the 2 teams with the best squad depth. So City, and they're able to, like you said, Pranil, strangle teams literally all game because they can constantly refresh their team with good players. And Chelsea have done it this year as well towards the end of the year, completely controlled games because of their squad depth as well, haven't they? And they really have controlled games. They look good for next year. Whereas next year, I feel like teams are going to be catching up, not completely, but they're going to be catching up more and strengthening and spending that money that they haven't spent last summer. And I feel like the gap's going to close a bit more and they're not going to be able to quite as much. And I feel like City might go back to that, scoring more goals than controlling games, if that makes sense. That's just my take on it. I could be completely wrong, by the way. But I do like the discussion. I think it's interesting.
And definitely. I feel like there's been a right dearth of exciting players this season. Like the likes of Leroy Sané and Eden Hazard. I miss those players a lot. I feel like it's been a little bit boring in that sense. Like the most exciting, I feel like it's got to is like Rafinha and bits, and Dallas has done well. But Dallas just reminds me of like prime Doherty from the Wolves seasons. I don't know if it's going to continue, but yeah, I miss it. Yeah,
Jesse Lingard, mate. Jesse Lingard.
Yeah, prime.
Are you getting Lingard back? Is he coming back?
No, you're not.
Sell him, 100%.
Nah.
Yeah,
gone. Well, chaps, ready for next season? Ready for the end of the season? Ready for free hit?
I'm ready for Fantasy Festival.
Fantasy Festival. Ooh, I believe who got the assist, Surgery, Planet FPL, 24th of July. I was told earlier that is going to be the date they're going to have a meet up for a beer. If anyone is a mate and fancies a beer, then that looks like the date. So if you're around in London, I shall see you for a beer, 24th of July.
Oh, you representing, are you?
Yeah, it's for a beer, isn't it? If there's a beer about, it's down the road. Bit far.
I'm going to Fest, actually. I can only go to one, and Fest came out first, so I'm going there.
Yeah, that's
so am I.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Bhuna, virtually London. We'll go for a beer on 24th.
I'll be going to both. I'll probably be going to both.
Yeah, we'll go for a beer.
I don't discriminate.
We're all good.
Cool.
Brunel's looking longingly at us like I'm miles away. I can't come for a beer.
Like,
You'll be here
yeah,
next
spoil
season, mate.
pictures. Yeah, I will. If I had the chance, if things were normal, I'd definitely fly down for one of these events for sure.
Yeah,
We'll see you next season.
More important things for now. More important things. Right, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad it has just been a general chat today. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. So thanks from myself and Baker to you, Bhuna.
We were ending things right now.
Sorry?
I was about to pour myself another drink, but ending this right now.
Wow. Carry on. People are a bit bored now. We're good.
And this is just putting a like, go and see that.
I'm in a hotel and I've got no drink, so I can't go and get a drink now.
Get
Bar's
yourself to the
closed.
bar, mate. Get yourself. Oh, it's closed.
It's closed. I think it's closed at 9. I think.
Wait, it's 9:30. What the fuck?
I think it's closed at 9 with all the rules and stuff, so it's a bit miserable.
Well, pleasure.
It's
guys.
been a proper.
Yeah.
It's
Cheers
been a
for having us
proper
on, boys.
freestyle. This one.
Yeah, I told you at the start there was no structure to it. It was just we just talk and just flow between the subjects. That's how it works.
That's why we did it, innit? It's start the season. Me and CY said,
Do you want to chat and talk FPL? Yeah, go on then. Should we record it?
yeah,
Yeah, go on then.
but might as well.
I've had a good time. I reckon we should just make this an annual or biannual thing.
Yeah, let's get on it.
It's a good mix.
Sounds good to me.
Good mix, boys.
Definitely.
So I'm not going to ask you guys where to find you lot because you're all more popular than us. So if they're actually listening to you, if they're listening to this, they've already listened to you lot. So that's what I'm assuming anyway. But we have had Bhuna, Andy, and Lateriser today. Thank you very much for coming on, guys. Really appreciate it.
Cheers for having us.
Pleasure.
Enjoy that, Baker. Good. So in terms of where to find us, we are at Above Average
For having us,
FPL.
bud. Been a pleasure.
Oh, good stuff, Andy.
Sorry, my
No,
internet's messing up all over the place, mate. I'm struggling to hear.
same as mine. Don't worry. Same as mine. It's cut out a few times, but that's fine. That's all good. That's all good. Yeah. So we are at Above Average FPL on Twitter. Guys, enjoy the rest of the season, and thanks very much. See you later, guys.
Inject it.